ahead and get started. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's discussion of the situation on Israel's northern border. I'm Blaise Mishtal, Vice President of Policy at GINSA, and I'm delighted to be joined by two of our IDF visiting fellows, active duty IDF generals who come spend time here at GINSA's offices, sharing their expertise with us, but also learning about U.S. foreign policy and national security making. IDF Brigadier General Effie Defrin was with us at the end of last year. He is formerly the head of the International Cooperation Division of the IDF, and he put out two terrific papers while he was here with us, one focused on the Northern War and the Northern Front and how to secure Israel's northern border, and one looking south specifically at the Philadelphia corridor and the future of Gaza. Also delighted to be joined by IDF Brigadier General Shai Clapper, who is currently here in our offices in D.C. He is the former commander of the 91st Division, which, as we'll hear during today's webinar, was responsible for securing part of Israel's northern border throughout the October 7th war, and then conducting offensive operations inside of Lebanon once that started. He is also formerly the commander of the Golani Brigade and an extremely accomplished warfighter. So General Defrin, General Clapper, thank you both so much for joining us. General Clapper, I wanted to start with you. If you could tell us a little bit about the activities of the 91st Division during the war, your experiences, what you saw, what you learned about Hezbollah during this time.
Okay, so good afternoon to everybody. It's an honor to be here and to share the insights about what's going on in Lebanon, especially in Israel and Lebanon, especially in the north border. So in the couple of minutes, I will describe what happened and what was a security situation in the north border in the 91st Division. From just to a couple of words about the 91st Division. The 91st Division responsibility of the area from the Mediterranean Sea, from Rosh HaNikra, the beach of Rosh HaNikra, to Mountain Har Dov. And I was there on October 7. On October 7, I was something around year and a half in job, and after that another year and a half almost. It was a big honor for me and big responsibility, and I'm very happy and grateful that I was in this position. So I brought this slide just to make understand what's happened in the north border in October 7. And we are talking now about the past, but the most important that we will talk about the future and maybe bring a better solution to create a better security situation to the future. But this slide shows there are 1 battalions along the north border. So if you will count them, it's something around 15 different battalions. And as you see, they are on the border. And for example, if you will take the battalions that were in Aita Shayeb, it's near Shtula, less than half a mile. So all those villages that could be considered as a civilian villages are actually army villages, army terror operative villages. What's there in this village? In this village, it will be an arsenal of weapons, of rockets, and a lot of equipment that the Radwan units only bring the other soldiers, and from here can attack and invade Israel. On the daily basis, in each battalion, the people were something around 100 and 150 soldiers in each battalion. So if you will go to next slide, please, Nolan. So the next slide shows what was the situation October 7 morning. I was at home actually on October 7 morning, I watched the videos from the south and I got cold sweat all of my body. And the thing that I was concerned that Hezbollah will invade to Israel, will conquer the bases, will occupy some of the settlements, will reach to the junctions, to the roads. And as you see, we are talking about thousands of anti-tank launches, hundreds of high-trajectory rockets, high readiness for attack, hundreds of ground militias in the field. So Israel in the future, from learning from the past, one of our next challenges will be how we will prevent the new established of Hezbollah along the border. And I think that we should not be naive. Hezbollah will come back, will try to come back. And this is a big challenge for us. Because as you know, all those units, all those battalions of Radwan that I just talked about them, they didn't come with RPG on their shoulders, with a flag. I'm Hezbollah, I'm Radwan unit, here is my weapon. No, they come in, hidden ways and hide their weapons in the garage, in the car or something like that. So going back to 91st Division on October 7, I called all my commander of my brigades, all my staff, and I told everybody, hey guys, the war started just now. Bring all your weapons, all your troops, all your abilities. I told to my commander of my armor brigade, drove with your tanks on the roads. He told me, hey, we'll not wait to the trucks. I told him, no, drive on the roads. Also to the artillery brigade. So I think that in 24 hours, we arranged 7 brigades in 24 hours, and I think that we did a pretty good job in 3 lines of defense. And after 24 hours, you could say that we were arranged very good. And I don't know what exactly is the answer why Hezbollah didn't attack simultaneously with Hamas in October 7 morning. You could say that Iran didn't tell them to do it. You can say that they want to look what's going on with Hamas, and you can say that the IDF arranged itself pretty good in the North Command and in 91st Division. I don't know why was it the reason. But in October 8, next slide please, we started the defensive battle. And I will not jump in what happened in October 11, but the big dilemma was if we are going to the south or to the north. And it was fair opinion from both sides, but the decision was to go to the south because the hostages, because this was the main area that it was a surprise attack, and to look what will be in the north. So in the north, we started a defensive battle for 1 year. As you know, defensive battle, it's a battle for tough people. It's the battle about the competition of learning. It's the battle about the resilience, about the spirit, about who is more aggressive, who has more initiatives. So for 1 year, it was a defensive battle. I think that also here we did pretty good job. What I mean pretty good job, every week we killed between 20 to 30 terror operative of Hezbollah, but we lost between 1 to 3 soldiers every year, every week. And we started to explode and find their weapons and all of that thing. And we did a lot of special operations things about that. But it wasn't enough because somehow people could think that Hezbollah wants in some point on the time to stop the war. But no, Hezbollah says, I'm into it until it will be end in Gaza. So to make a long story short, after 10 months, something like that, and here is a scale about all the things that boarded up, I think that after the bombing and the death of the 12 children in Majl Shams, this was the turning point. So after that, the government of Israel put inside the aims of the war the goal that we should return our people to the north. And after that, it was the elimination of Shuker, Muhsen, the chief of staff of Hezbollah, and more, and Nasrallah. And in September 24, we went to invade Lebanon. If you can go next slide, please. So in general, in this invade to Lebanon, we turned to offensive battle. In this battle in Lebanon, it was between 4 and 5 divisions, around 15 brigades. The goal and the aim was to conquer all the villages near the border, between 0 and 10K. We occupied all the villages. We killed all the terror soldiers that were there. We took all the weapons. We exploded all the tunnels and all the arsenal. And you know what? Honestly, I was surprised from the amount of the weapons that they have, from the tunnels that they have. We think that we know something. I tell you honestly, they had more. And not surprising that when they saw that we are serious in this attack, they ran away. Part of them ran away, part of them fight. We have complicated fights and complicated battles. But after all, we achieve our goals. You can say that we could do more, right? We could do to another places. But as you see here in this slide, 91st Division, between 5 and 6 battles, we command around 8 brigades. It's for a month and a half. We killed, only our brigade killed around 400 terror soldiers of Hezbollah. All the IDF killed something around between 4 or 5,000. And I think that we did a very good job also compared to 2006. Efri was a commander of battalion in 2006. I was company commander. I felt in this battle that I have the opportunity to fix things that we didn't did well in 2006. And I think that here we achieve good goals. If you see, next slide, please. I got here a couple of things to show you. This is the numbers that the things that Hezbollah brought us and attacked us and shot us. You can see the explosive drones. You can see the collection drones. You can see the anti-tank missiles. You can see the high trajectory of launches and all of that. Next slide, please. Here there is numbers only for the maneuvers battle, and you can see here how many targets we attacked, almost 3,000. You can see how many soldiers that we lost. The total number, unfortunately, under my command, 58. We lost 58 soldiers and civilians. It's a big number, unfortunately, but you can see here that we achieve a lot of things on the enemy side. Next slide, please. Here is a very interesting slide. This slide shows how we hit the leadership of Hezbollah organization from the tactic level to the strategic level. As you see here, we killed 12 brigade commanders. We killed 5 division commanders. We killed around 25 battalion commanders, 65 company commanders, and more and more and more. And also we hit the chain of command of them, of the strategic level leadership. When we looked in the past, we see that the heart of the chain of command of their leadership, of the tactic command, this was a great influence and the impact about their performance in the battlefield. Next slide, please. On the end of the day, in November 24, and this is to conclude the small brief of the attack and the defensive battle and the offensive battle. Now I can say in confident that the Radwan units and Hezbollah have low readiness to attack tomorrow morning in Israel, near the border. And that we have achieved great things. But this was for yesterday. And I have here a couple of pictures, if they are known, that you can see how seriously. Another next slide, please. Great. I brought these slides that just to show you how seriously Hezbollah prepared to attack, prepared to invade, prepared to conquer. They build tunnels. They have a lot of ammons and raketos and all of that things. They are a serious organization, and they will try to come back. And to conclude all my short brief, I will say that our future challenge, first of all, is to develop a new strategy for Hezbollah, Israel VC Hezbollah, for the next decade. What we want to Hezbollah. Decide them, to cause them to get out from Lebanon, prevent them to establish new abilities along the border, allowed them maybe to be in north, to the Litani River. This is the first thing. We should develop a new strategy for the next decade about what we want from Hezbollah, for Hezbollah. And the next thing, for tomorrow morning, Hezbollah will try to come back. And we should convince our people, the North people, to come back to our villages. We cannot convince them or give them maybe security. We can give them tomorrow morning because the outcomes of the battle, but a security feeling we cannot give them because they know what happened here before. So we should develop a new mechanism that will prevent the Hezbollah established along the border. So thank you very much.
Thank you, General Clapper, for that presentation and for everything you did. I think the accomplishments in Lebanon are really incredible. And at Jinso, we worked on what a northern war would look like, and it ended up looking nothing like what was predicted. It was so clean and effective and fast. It really is incredible. Let me ask you one question maybe about your operations in Lebanon, and then I want to ask General Defrin to tell us sort of what the current state of the ceasefire is and what's happening on the northern border. But General Clapper, I wanted to ask you about the tunnels that you found, and to the extent you're able to tell us, how are they different or similar to the tunnels in Gaza? How was Hezbollah planning to use the tunnels? And were you actually fighting in tunnels, or were you just finding them already empty and deserted?
Okay, so for the tunnels issue and challenge, and to the underground domain in the battlefield. So Hezbollah, as a terror organization like Hamas, find the ways to decrease the IDF advantages and find a way how to struggle or how to handle our abilities like Air Force. So they use the underground. So I think that one of the things that Hezbollah took from 2006 is to use more the underground domain. But the main difference between the tunnels and the underground domain that for Hezbollah to Hamas build networking of tunnels underground, okay? There are strategic tunnels all around the globe. You can say that there is up Gaza and underground Gaza. Also up Rafiah, underground Rafiah. This is not the situation in Lebanon. They build, they try to build, and we didn't find a lot of them. Tunnels that crossed through Israel, we didn't find a lot of them, maybe only one. I cannot expand of that anymore here. But they used a lot a tactical underground basements, a tactical tunnels that cross the street, a tactical tunnels, except couple of projects that we found that were strategic tunnels, not crossing tunnels, but tunnels that allowed them to collect a lot of soldiers, terror soldiers, to collect a lot of weapons, couple of specific projects. I can say in full confidence that all the underground tunnels, the underground domain was in learning all the time and they're working on it from day to day. So if we will not invade now and we will invade in 10 years from now, 5 years from now, we will find more and more tunnels and large tunnels than we found.
Did you have to fight in any of the tunnels, General Clapper, or had Hezbollah already left them
Yeah.
as you advanced?
Sometime we fought in those tunnels, and we know how to do that. We have a very good equipment and a very good technology for that. But we insist to explode every tunnel that we found.
Did you get lessons learned from units fighting in the tunnels in Gaza on how to deal with tunnels, or was it something that you learned on your own or had pre-existing training in?
I think that the IDF did a pretty good job to learn from area to area, from the South Command to the North Command. A lot of people, most of them or part of them, were brigadier generals that retired. We call them study officers. They were in the South. They learned. They published, brochures and all of that, or small books, notebooks. They came to us and we learned. Also, I went a couple of times as a brigadier general, as a commander of division. I went south. I took a helicopter and I sat with another colleagues and I tell them, "Come on, teach me." I believe all the time that we should learn and that I don't know everything. So we came to the north with a lot of lesson learning from the south.
It's terrific that you're able to do that learning in the middle of an active war. That's really incredible. So, General Defrin, let me turn to you, and maybe you can give us an update on what the current status of the northern border is. But let me start with where General Clapper left off, which is the objective for Israel is for the residents of the north to be able to return to their homes. Have they returned?
Well, Blaze, with your permission, before answering your question, I want to add on the things that General Clapper
By all means.
said. Just because he's modest, and I have to say here a few things. First, on the 7th of October morning, the actions that were taken by General Clapper saved the country, and I'm not exaggerating here. It's the action that was taken by him and his division saved the country from a historic catastrophe. It could have been much worse than what it was on 7th, and it was bad on October 7th morning for Israel, for the IDF, for the civilians of Israel. One day those things will be written. We can just understand that we have to understand that approximately between 4,000 to 6,000 Radwan Hezbollah special forces were ready on the blue line in his region, ready to invade Israel. Had they do it simultaneously with Hamas in Gaza, we were in a different ballgame now. Now, what we saw on the north was a different ballgame. The readiness the quick response by him and his troops. They recruited very fast and supported the recruitment of a division, a reserve division, very fast to improve the defense up in the north, allowing the IDF to focus on the south. And God forbid us all if it wasn't like that. Again, I wish it was the same thing down in the south, but unfortunately it wasn't. And one more thing to add here, Blaze, that after October 7th morning, and after the beginning of the war, and I was there to witness it personally, the pressure that was on General Clapper's shoulder, I don't think that there was any general in Israel history, and again, I'm not exaggerating, there were big wars, Yom Kippur, Six-Day War, big wars, thousands of casualties, but I think the pressure that was on, he was in a tension between the strategic aims and the tactical needs on the ground. He needed to have iron nerves in order to hold himself. Waking up every morning, if he went to sleep at all for more than a year, waking up every morning and winning Hezbollah tactically, allowing strategically the policymakers and political level and in the IDF headquarters to do the right things. And we all need to thank him for those both. And he could have made lots of problems. He could have dragged the IDF into challenges up in the north prior or prematurely before we could have done that. And the bottom line is that the results are talking for itself. It's amazing what happened there. It was a decisive victory on Hezbollah. We all hear the sexy thing, you know, the beepers and Mossad operations, but 99% of the job was made on the ground by him and his troops, and it's amazing. And I hope one day he will write about that, so we can all learn from what happened over there. It was crazy, you know, the tension between the Kiryat base in Tel Aviv to the north and to the division headquarters in where General Clapper was up in the north was tremendous during this year, and he stood up to it bravely, and we should all appreciate that. He created the conditions for the political level, for the decision makers, to a better solution in the future, and I hope we'll take the right decision. I mean, both in the political level and in the IDF level for the future, as he mentioned, and the question you asked him about the future was a right one. Now, to continue the previous webinar and to your question, first, technically, the government decided, you know, to bring back. I think it's March 1st. Bring back the civilians back to their homes in the northern border, opening schools, including today they published, I don't know if you heard about that in DC, General Clapper, but the government published an incentive of more than 20,000 shekels to every family that will send her kids to school in order, you know, to encourage them to go back to their homes. And from that, I'll go to the situation on the ground as it is, with your permission, Blaze. First, we all heard about Hezbollah held yesterday the funeral for its former Secretary General, Mr. Hassan Nasrallah, the late Mr. Hassan Nasrallah, and his designated successor, Hashem Safi el-Din, in Beirut. Hundreds of thousands of people attended this funeral, including a big Iranian and vocal Iranian delegation led by the foreign minister and the speaker of the Majlis, which is the Iranian parliament, as well as foreign delegations, including the Houthis, by the way, and from Iraq and everywhere else, from the resistance axis. However, what is important here now, also for the future, the Lebanese president and prime minister, which we mentioned in the previous webinar, did not attend the ceremony. And it's good news. The Speaker of the Lebanese parliament, Mr. Nabih Berri, which we also spoke about, he's a Shia guy. He was a partner of the Hassan Nasrallah. He was the senior figure in the funeral. Those are important things for the future. Hezbollah Secretary General Naim Qassem by the way, he did not attend the funeral. He was afraid for his life. Said the organization would follow Nasrallah's legacy, so-called legacy, and continue on the path of resistance, adding that they would continue to support the Palestinians. Let's see, they are weakened now, and as General Klepper mentioned, we don't think they are going anywhere. They will do their best together with the Iranians to rebuild their force in Lebanon and especially in the south, but that's the future will tell. The IDF completed. Last time we spoke about the need to stay in 5 points, though. So the IDF completed on the 18th its withdrawal from South Lebanon, except for a presence at those 5 strategic points near the border with Israel. Even after the withdrawal, by the way, including right now, I just saw an incoming news about an assassination made probably by an Israeli drone in Lebanon, probably a high figure from Hezbollah. We are implementing 1701 ourselves now. By the way, myself and General Klepper, we said it for years. We will do it. If we will reach this point, we will have to implement it ourselves. We cannot compromise on that. So we are seeing it happening. Even after the withdrawal, we continue to operate. The IDF continued its operation to prevent Hezbollah from strengthening its presence and military capabilities in South Lebanon. Senior Lebanese officials met with the Iranians who arrived to the funeral. It was vocal again. It was published to Nasrallah's funeral. But the Lebanese president, and that was published, and again, it's important, told them that his country was wary of the wars of other countries and called on foreign nations not to interfere in its internal affairs. Very brave from his side, countering Iran this way. For the first time in 25 years, today in Lebanon, there was a gathering in the parliament approving the new Lebanese government, policy guidelines for the new government. And for the first time in 25 years, Hezbollah's, what they called article of resistance, was not included in the new Lebanese government policy guidelines. Good news, good start. Let's not be naive. And a few more things from my side on the practical level. General Jeffers, the American general on the ground, the 2-star general from Soxant, he left Lebanon, although he is still responsible. He's still the guy who sends the strategic messages from Israel to Lebanon on the high level. There are 2 American 06, American colonels over there, together with the French participants in this new mechanism, still working, still very efficient. I think it will be very bad if there won't be in the future, at least in the near future, an American general on the ground that will do this job. Regarding the 5 points, I think General Klepper can elaborate on the importance of these points in a few minutes, but the official Lebanon is demanding withdrawal from that. Although from what I understand in the tripartite mechanism and under this mechanism, they are not agreeing. The official Lebanon doesn't agree for Israel to stay there, but there is a kind of coordination through this mechanism. And for now, there is no friction between IDF soldiers and locals, civilians or LAF soldiers at all. What the LAF, the Lebanese Armed Forces, claims is that the IDF staying in this point is serving the Hezbollah's narrative for resistance, which on one hand is right. Their claims are right. On the other hand, there is still, as I mentioned last time, I don't want to repeat it, there is still cooperation between Hezbollah and some elements in LAF intelligence and so on. We see that. It will take time until it will vanish. Hopefully soon, for the sake of Lebanon, but they are still cooperating. Not all LAF, not official LAF, but some elements, especially in the intel, are cooperating with Hezbollah. In addition, last time I said Lebanon committed to 10,000 troops on the ground and on the blue line in South Lebanon. And last time we talked, I think it was two weeks ago, they had 5,000 soldiers. They will reach by March about 6,000 soldiers. Still, I remind you, we mentioned the problems they have on the border with Syria, but still, they still have to. And again, it's not about numbers, it's about how they implement, how they resist Hezbollah and prevent him from coming back or from building back his force. Hezbollah is still there covertly. He doesn't still, Hezbollah is not understanding completely that he's lost in South Lebanon and he's not going to be there. This is why we keep seeing Israeli strikes here and there. So he's working, I'm talking about Hezbollah, covertly to try to, in small numbers, much less than what we saw in the past, but still trying to rebuild its force quietly, especially north of the Litani, but also on south of the Litani. The LAF is doing good job, relatively. I said it last time. We see it's published, they prevent the flights coming from Iran to Beirut with money and other things. Yesterday it was published that they arrested some civilians in the Dahya neighborhood in Beirut. The Dahya neighborhood is Hezbollah affiliated neighborhood. It's the headquarters of Hezbollah. Probably those who were involved in attacking the convoy of UNIFIL and hitting its deputy. But still, in South Lebanon, they are not going into private territories. I'm talking LAF. They will have to change the Lebanese law, which prevent them from going to private territory, which means Hezbollah territories. And also, they have this block roads on the Litani River, and they're supposed to stop every Hezbollah going down south. It's not 100% working, and I cannot elaborate on that, but you understand they are letting some Hezbollah elements going south, down south.
General Jeffrin, do you have an estimate of what Hezbollah's strength south of Litani now is? Is it tens? Is it hundreds? Is it thousands? How many of them are still there south of the Litani?
Maybe General Klepper can say better than me. I don't know the numbers, but they are still there. They are still there in civilian dress. Again, not in the masses they used to have before. They fled because of General Klepper's actions, most of them, but some of them are still there, covertly, dressed as civilians. General Klepper, do you know numbers, or can you estimate how much Hezbollah you have there down south?
So first of all, don't believe everything Effie said in the beginning. So I will respond to that, and also for the 5 points. I think that they estimate that there is Hezbollah operatives. They don't have, from my point of view, the ability and the weapons and the vehicles and the rockets that they have before the war. I think that the big majority of Radwan soldiers are still in the north, but the reconnaissance units, part of the artillery guys came back, part of the guys that doing the headquarters stuff and process want to come back and coming back, and looking what's going on in the field. I think that we can assume that it's around hundreds, not a lot, but it will be from day to day. It will be more. I don't know exactly the numbers. I think that they are from the units that were, that Hezbollah have attack units like Radwan, and they have defensive units, like the other guys that should defend the area. I think that both of them come back, see what's going on. About the posts, the five points. So just a little story from my experience. After that, we occupied the villages, and after the fight, the battlefield in the villages, we decided to stay in a couple of strategic points. What is strategic point? Strategic point is a point that it's most of the time will be on the summit or on the top of the mountain, when from this point, you have a better view 360. You can see everywhere. For example, all the Galil, the area is with a lot of valleys, narrow valleys and mountains, and it's not a flat area. This is much changing, much different than Gaza Strip. So if you are not have a good view to everything, it's possible that somebody can come. So we decided in the beginning to stay in those in those positions, in those points, and from there we put some of cameras and more stuff that I cannot expand here. But those posts give us much better protect and defensive abilities. The next thing that we should remember that after October 7, people, our enemies especially, will try to make October 7 again. I don't know when. Or maybe to make October 7 in smallest occasions. And we remember that in October 9, it was a couple of places that Hezbollah tried to invade. In Jordech, in Hanita, near Margaliot, all of those places that Hezbollah tried to come, it was clashes. We won, although we lost soldiers. So when you are in those points, it's much better and easier to protect your area, not from the blue line, because on the blue line, you are protecting your area when you are on your border. So I think that we should consider that Hezbollah opened the war. Hezbollah tried to invade to Israel in a couple of places. And for the next year, for the 3 years from now, 5 years from now, we should stay in those points and we will say, okay, we want to see what's going on. They need to approve that they will not come back. And although, as Effie said, we're talking about 10,000 soldiers, they wish they will never have 10,000 soldiers. So I think that we should, although that we should talk what should be in the ceasefire agreement, that not only temporary, what about the permanent one? And how we want to change the 1701 agreement that wasn't so effective, or we didn't enforce it. I don't know what exactly is the point. But those points that we are still there, wait, we are in trauma after what happened. They need to approve that they will not come back. I don't know. I saw flags of Hezbollah. So talk with us in another 3 months. There will not be any flag of Hezbollah. Hezbollah is a terror organization. You could imagine that somebody will come with a Bin Laden flag, ISIS flag on the border of USA? What it means about our security feeling. So where there is our points, they are not coming. They will know. They know that if somebody will come in a line of sight of our points with a flag of Hezbollah flag, he will be dead at the same moment. And this will be good. So those points allowed us to see more, to understand more, to protect better. And I wish there will be more. I don't know. And I think that we should declare that in the next couple of years, we look what's going on, and we want to make sure that we have a good defensive arrangement and all of that.
So to that point, General Clapper, is what Israel has right now, is the status quo acceptable for keeping the North safe? There's the 5 points. You've cleared out Hezbollah. You have the freedom of action to hit any Hezbollah that you find south of the Litani. Is that good enough, or is a different arrangement still needed in order to protect the North?
I think that we are about the red line, that's the lowest thing that we could agree about them. If we want to open it, what is the Litani River? Okay, if Hezbollah will repeat itself north to the Litani River with his abilities, rockets, weapons, vehicles, training soldiers, it will be right to say that, okay, you have a security zone, considered to be security zone between the Litani River to the Blue Line. But let's talk about that we don't have DMZ. We don't have the perimeter area as we have in the south. We wanted that it will be DMZ, but there are Shiite villages or Lebanon villages, and we consider the fact that there is civilian over there. So we accept that we want to, consider and to be humanitarian guys, and consider international countries that wants to sign with somebody on agreement. So we allowed the people to come back, but we took risk. Part of the people that will come back to Kfar Kile, a Shiite village 500 meters near Metula, somehow part of them could be Shiite. So what we have now, it's the red line of our, protective issues, arrangements that you can say we can live with them. And also, from my opinion, we should develop a new strategy for the long term. We don't want Hezbollah in Lebanon. We don't want Hezbollah in Lebanon. So let's talk about that. How we take Hezbollah out from Lebanon, maybe to go to Iran. There is a lot of options. We can talk about them. I don't know if just now you want to talk about them. But we should take the assumption that Hezbollah will repeat himself. And also in the north of the Litani, it's a big threat for us. But when they are north to Litani, we bought a couple of hours, that's all. And we will now, the USA administration and the international community will be involved, and we should develop new arrangements how Hezbollah, or getting out from Lebanon, or will now repeat itself. Although we took him a couple of good years back after this last war.
General Defrin, I have one more question for you, and then I'm happy
please.
to open it up to Q&A from the audience. If anyone wants to submit a question using the Q&A feature in Zoom, please do so, and I can read it out to the generals. But General Defrin, is there any sort of a process in place for moving forward from this current temporary ceasefire? Are there going to be negotiations at some point toward a permanent ceasefire, or is this just sort of the status quo for the foreseeable future?
So for now, first, I would say that regarding red lines you mentioned before, Blaze, it's David Ben-Gurion used to say regarding the UN and international activities or international pressure on Israel, because there will be pressure. There will be pressure, and it's coming. And already you hear some elements, coming from, especially from UNIFIL. Israel has to withdraw. You agree to the ceasefire agreement, and so on and so forth. So Ben-Gurion used to say, what's important is it's not what the Gentiles will say. What's important is what the Jews will do. What will be the actions taken by the Jews. And what he meant, and I think General Klepper covered it very well, we will have to take care for our security ourselves. And I think that's answering your question, because I mentioned last time, the ceasefire agreement, as we see it, and I think it's understood by the American administration and maybe by other, I think it's also understood by the Lebanese, government, that the ceasefire agreement is not what's important in it is the implementation of it. It's not the timeline. Okay, Israel agreed to withdraw by the 18th of February or this date or other date. That's not important. If the conditions will be implemented and will be fulfilled, then Israel will withdraw. And the main thing is, implementing 1701 properly. And the first thing is no Hezbollah in South Lebanon, no in the whole of Lebanon. This is under 1701, by the way, nothing new about that. Only one weapon in the hands of the government, of the Lebanese government, not in other militias. By the way, not only Hezbollah, Islamic Jihad, Hamas, they also exist there. They used to call them in the past the proxies of the proxies, those small groups. Hezbollah used to blame them. It's not me. I didn't shoot it. Those Hamas or someone else shot it from the villages in South Lebanon. So it's not up to the timeline. It's about the implementing the conditions. I can't predict what will happen in the future. We see good signs that the state of Lebanon is trying to get rid of this cancer called Iran and Hezbollah. I think General Amidor mentioned last time. We have to. It can be a process now. Now we have a very dominant Sunni element controlling Syria, which is the oxygen line to Lebanon, to Hezbollah. Now they control there. Turkey is very dominant now. What happens when the Sunnis in Lebanon and the Sunnis in Syria are cooperating against Hezbollah? We already see the pressure on Hezbollah now. Now, Hezbollah, I mentioned the funeral before. Hezbollah said, okay, let's wait until the end of this funeral. We want the funeral to go, to bury Nasrallah in pride. And after that, we'll see what we'll do. How they will react to this pressure coming from the Lebanese government? I don't know. There's a new government there. Let's not be naive. It's the same corrupted system. The political system in Lebanon is corrupted. It's the same sectarian division, which is the source of all problems. But it will take time to heal this system with a lot of international American and European and others. And now you see Saudi and Qatar and others trying to support them. Maybe it will heal. It will take time. By the time or until this time, Israel will have to implement it. And we have to say it out loud and clearly. So there is no timeline. The only thing is Israel needs to secure itself, not only building an obstacle on the fence, but staying there, having a depth, buffering between those Shia villages to Israeli villages, to allow our communities to live there and to work their fields and go to school. So, and I think General Klepper mentioned that before. Until those conditions will be fulfilled, we will not be able to withdraw. Now, that may create friction in the future. Depends on many other elements. Again, implementing 1701, security to the villages, to the northern communities, Israeli northern communities. UNIFIL. What about UNIFIL? UNIFIL had been, and I'm saying it, I used to convince General Klepper to be more patient with UNIFIL in the past. Because he used to tell me it's bullshit. They're not doing their jobs. They're only, interrupting me. And he was right. If you ring Blaze, if you pick up the phone and call General Azal, the Spanish commander of UNIFIL, now as we speak, and you'll ask him, what's the most important thing in South Lebanon now? He will tell you that Israel will withdraw immediately because there is an agreement. You see, he doesn't think about the wider picture, about the future. And that was the problem. They are part of the problem, like other UN organizations. Now, and maybe General Klepper will be surprised. My position, we should get rid of UNIFIL as soon as we can. And the next August coming August is an opportunity. And with the new administration in DC, it's a great opportunity. And then what happens if there is no UNIFIL? Maybe the government of Lebanon, the sovereign government of Lebanon, will take responsibility and try to implement it, try to secure its own borders. And we will have a situation in which you have two states, Israel and Lebanon, discussing or fighting or whatever, trying to reach a solution. Because UNIFIL only deepened the problem in the past. Last thing for me is the culture of Hezbollah in Lebanon, please. The culture of Hezbollah. They have to understand that's it. End of game. We cannot accept Hezbollah as a military force in Lebanon. Maybe they can stay there as a political party, part of the political, puzzle in Lebanon. That's their own problem. I mean, the Shia elements, Amal, Hezbollah, and so on as party, but not as a military force threatening Israel. And The Lebanese officials need to understand that for the sake of Lebanon, and then for the sake of Israel as well. Until that day will come, we will have to create this buffer ourselves and implement the 1701 and secure our own civilians and borders.
Well, until that day comes, we're grateful to you, General Defrin, and you, General Clapper, for everything you do, both to protect Israel, but also to enrich our work here at GINSA. Thank you very much for your time and insights this afternoon. Very much appreciated them. Thank you to everyone who tuned in, and we'll see you on our next webinar. Thank you and have a good afternoon.